Hello, this is JJ Humphrey, and I'm on with Bobby Cleveland. It's Elephant in the Room, where we talk about what nobody else wants to talk about, what everybody is scared to talk about. And today, Bob, we had a good conversation before we got in here. I wish we'd have just filmed all that. Great conversation leading into this. I actually burned my tongue on my coffee, so I may not be able to talk, Bob. Can you believe that?
Well, we had the state convention yesterday, and it was a quite contentious state convention. And you know what I was really shocked on is Pam Pollard lost, and but I know when I went with you times to different cities, towns that you made speeches in, I seen the difference in the people. The people are mad. This border has got people mad. It got people mad on Langford. They're mad at Tom Cole. They're mad. And well, Bob, I just sat back and seen this change coming.
It's not just the Langford on what he did on the border and Cole. What people are mad about is the fact that we can have January 6th, that we can have Trump being persecuted, not prosecuted, persecuted on everything, and Joe Biden be sitting there with 10 times worse and not be prosecuted. And people see that. They're sick of that. They're sick of establishment politics. They're sick of it. And again, the problem that we have, and again, I can't speak to other GOPs. I can speak to Oklahoma's GOP. And that's today what we're talking about is the fact that they've turned a deaf ear to the people, and there's a whole movement. So if anybody out there listening has not heard, there's a movement called the grassroots movement that is taking over the Republican Party, and they're going to take over the Republican Party. But the grassroots movement needs to make sure that they don't make some of the same mistakes, because that's what I'm seeing, Bob. If you want to know what the big deal with the Republican Party is right now, they've turned a deaf ear to what people are saying. They've not paid attention to their base. And again,
JJ, I didn't realize it was as bad as what it was. So I went with you to hear you speak in different places, and everywhere you went, it was the same thing. People are very upset. They're madder than heck, and they're mad at our state party. They're mad at our leadership in the House and the Senate, at the Capitol. They see what's going on there. They see that bills aren't getting heard. Good conservative bills are not getting heard. And they're tired of the rhinos.
Well, Bob, I was in there with leadership not very back, just a few weeks back, a couple of weeks back, and I was told by leadership that everybody up there at the Capitol was hating my guts, more or less, and anyways, I explained to leadership that maybe they will, but they may be in control, and they may continue to be in control. But I told them, I said, I don't see myself being higher, going to a higher position. But if I do go to a higher position, the reason it'll be is because I'm willing to burn the Capitol building down and stand in the middle of it. Now, I say that. I don't want anybody taking, I'll burn the Capitol. Shame we had to explain that, Bob, that I'm just speaking, But here's the thing. People, when I go outside of that Capitol, when I go to eat, when I go to get gas, when I go to convenience store. And Bob, it ain't just in my district. It's all over the state. When I go somewhere in state, people come by me, walk by me and say, give them hell, Humphrey. Or, hey, we appreciate the job you're doing. Walk by and give me a thumbs up.
I hear it. I hear it all the time.
Well, Bob, people are sick of it. I'm not a good politician. I'm not a statesman. I'm not a slick politician. But people are sick of that, and they're wanting somebody to stand up and do what they say they'll do. And again, we're not seeing a bunch of that. And Bob, you said it a while ago. The ones that are doing that, guess what? Their bills are either being shut down or they're being stole from them. That makes me about as mad, Bob, to see a guy put a good bill together, see a guy run a great bill.
Work it at the House and the Senate, and then they take it over.
Yeah, and then one of the leadership puts their name on it, kills that person's bill. I can't tell you how many times I've been done that way. And here's what's funny, Bob. you go in there and go, well, JJ, you never have a good idea. I said, well, hell, that's funny because y'all steal every good idea I ever had. If I ain't got a good idea, why y'all stealing so many bills from me? You know, must be doing something.
Well, JJ, I really think the biggest problem we have in this country is the border. Right now is the border.
Oh, I agree.
And now the president's wanting to bring in 100,000 more to inside of the United States. And what is the Republicans doing? They say, well, we're not in charge. You know, we can't do anything. Well, the heck with that. When the Democrats were there, they would have had, if this was reversed and we were doing a Democrat this way, I guarantee they'd been on that TV every day with a group of them challenging them and saying something. And we're not, so we're sitting back and doing nothing. If we're doing anything, we can't see it.
That's the conversation that I wanted to have, because here's the deal. And you look at what's going on in the convention. You look at that. You look at the grassroots movement, which I'm behind. I will tell you this, everybody out there listening to me, I'm more of a grassroots person. I'm a little rebel. I like raising Cain. I'm down with the grassroots movement. I love them. I love them. But here's the problem. Whether we're talking about the Republican Party, the established, or whether we're talking about the grassroots, guess what? Bob, you were out there. You ran your campaign. You got out there and beat the doors and beat the bushes. How much help was the Republican Party to you?
I can't know of any help they were to me.
If
they were, I don't really know about it.
Now, some of my Hugo bunch, they helped me. Okay, my Hugo bunch, my Antlers bunch helped me. They were some help. But when you're talking about state Republican Party,
I'm talking about state. I'm not talking about my local party.
Big fat duck egg. Now, when you're talking about raising money, you know how much money I got from the Republican Party?
0.
Big fat duck egg. Now, here's the thing. The group that they're talking about fighting against, whether it's the established or whether it's the grassroots, the group they're talking about fighting against, those Republicans up there who are running everything, guess what? Go look at their funds. Go look at their accounts. You know what? They're flush with cash. They're flush with cash. And guess who they're getting it from? They're getting it from state chamber. They're getting it from dark money. They're getting it from the people who pull their chain, who run them. And then you want to know why we get these liberal type policies, these liberal bills, why conservative bills get killed. It's because that big money chain right there. But the Republicans don't raise money. The Republicans don't help their candidates. I can tell you people right now who have campaigns that our Republican establishment are trying to take these conservative people out. And guess what? Where's the help? Nobody to help them. Nobody to go out with them.
But they're trying to take Christian conservatives out. There's no mistake about that. They're after Christian conservatives. What is it when you can't get elected to the House, to the Speaker of the House, because you're too Christian?
Because you're too conservative. Bob, when they will say that you are too conservative and too Christian to be elected. Now, when you say that, wow. And where's the party on that? Where's the people on that? Where are they calling in? What are they doing? Nothing. And Bob, one of the worst, I want to jump off the Republican Party for a minute, but half these people claim to be Republican also. But the church sits back, oh, we shouldn't get involved in politics. Oh, we can't do all this. I'll tell you what, sit on your ass and let the people who don't believe in all of that take over, which is about what you've done right here. If you want to see where our country and what the problem is with our country, we got a president that pushes transgender. We got a president who pushes lawlessness. We got a president who pushes disruption, Palestine over Israel.
And the churches are sitting on their hands.
Ain't doing nothing.
Oh, we don't want to talk about politics.
In Oklahoma, you say, oh, that ain't in Oklahoma. Guess what? We've ran bills. I've ran them. Keep porno out of children's hands, not just out of school.
Couldn't get it heard on the floor.
Can't get it heard on a Republican. Had that sitting ready to go on the floor. Had a dadgum text that I'll kill a bill to get that bill heard. and I be darned, couldn't, and I killed my bill. I kept mine, couldn't get it heard on the floor. And guess what? We talk about homelessness issues. Guess what? I had a bill this year on homeless issues, couldn't get it heard. Guess what? You talk about fentanyl being epidemic, being a terrorist, with fentanyl, had a bill. Guess what? Couldn't get it heard. We talk about foreign control over our schools and university. Had a bill that said you have to be an American citizen to be on a school board, university, or school. How easy is that? Couldn't get it heard. And again, who's got all the money? These people who aren't letting it be heard. What are the Republican Party doing? Republican Party's up there fighting each other, discussing all this, which, again, they've got some legitimate rights. These grassroots people have been ignored, and they have legitimacy. They have some legitimate beefs. And
right, they're tired of it.
A lot of the stuff they're doing is awesome. I agree with them. But here's the deal. Be careful, grassroots. Don't become what you're hating. Don't become what you're cussing. Don't become them, because guess what? If you want a real party, you want to do something, get out on the streets and start knocking doors. Get your candidate. If you ain't got a lot of money, have a fundraiser, but have 50 people show up with $100, not 10 people show up with 1,000. That's the way you win. Back to the people, the real people. We shouldn't have, I used to not want to go to events, Bob, because I didn't have 2,500. And so I just too ashamed. I wouldn't go down there. Well, guess what? Anymore, I show up at everything, but I give $100 to a whole lot. I spend a lot of money giving donations, but I'm going to give $100 everywhere I go. I just went to a big guy that's really, really wealthy. My 100 probably don't mean anything to him, but I give him 100 just to say to another candidate, because they'll look at that and my name being on there, that's me saying, hey, I'm not just for him. I'm going to donate money to him. I want you to see my name on here, because even if this guy loses, that guy that's up there ought to be told, we're sick of you. We're sick of the way you acted, and it's time you clean up your house. And again,
well, we've got a problem at the Senate and the House.
Well, Bob, they go up there and they get all of this money, and anybody doesn't think that there's a lot of money. And I'm going to tell you something, Bob. I can only see on the state level, but I'll tell people, hey, I've been offered money that I have refused because I knew I didn't want to be in that group that offered that money. I didn't want to be part of. Now, if I'd wanted to go on up and be in the current administration, taking that money would have been the way to do it. Allowing myself to become part of that and becoming a yes man and I could have got on up there probably when they never have seen me. They've seen me as pretty radical. And so I doubt they would ever let me inside the inner crew, you know what I'm saying, into one of those high positions. But I could have had a pretty good lower position, and I could get a lot of things done that right now I have to fight for. But I didn't do that, Bob, because guess what? I ain't taking their money. But most people will. Most people up there will. They want to be.
I took their money. They gave me money, but they didn't offer me a position or anything like that.
Bob,
most of it was McCall.
Bob, you say that, but let me ask you something. Did you go out to lunches with people? Did you let lobbyists pay your lunch?
No.
Then
all the time.
What,
there one time, and one time only. And that was that was an accident.
You're saying you took their money. You took some of the Republicans' campaign money. Yes, you did. And again, Bob, I've had them donate to me. Now, I can tell you on my second election, I chose not to take that through there because guess what? The way it was tied, they were wiping out. And Bob, I think you'd have been the same way. When they started taking out conservative friends of ours, and it's the same group offered you money.
It was the same ones that were most, I guess you'd say, most Christ-like or most Christians. That's the ones they went after.
Oh, absolutely. It was the most conservative Christian group up there that our own party, our leadership went and took out. And then I go to a fundraiser and they're bragging about taking them out. And Bob, I just turned around and walked out. I've not said that publicly too much. I've said it to a few individuals. I haven't talked too much publicly, but that happened. I was there, and I turned around and walked out. A person followed me, offered me money, and I said, hey, I don't want it because I don't want to be tied back to that. I don't want to be.
Now, JJ, I don't know. I don't know this Wayne Hill guy. I guess he's our vice chair, but I can't see what he's doing for anything. You may know him better than me.
Bob, I know who he is. And when he first come on board, most people on here know who Don Spencer is. And I want to stop and say, you want to look at one guy who has profound effect, who's got more guts and courage than just about anybody you'll know. Me and Don don't always agree on 100%. Mm-hmm. But if Don comes out with the survey, if Don comes out with the scorecard, I know how it's scored, and I typically can't argue with it.
There's not another Republican in the state of Oklahoma that's done as much work on the Republicans than Don Spencer.
I love Don to death, and the deal is we had a disagreement here recently, and I told him how I was going to vote, and I said, Don, I hate that we're kind of on a different scorecard here. And he goes, hey, JJ, we're not going to hold. We know 99% you're with us. Good. I'll take the hickey because we have a disagreement. And that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have to be eaten alive for having one opinion.
How many things do I do and you do that we don't agree with each other?
And Bob, here's the deal. What's funny is I love being able to tell you you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? It tickles me to let you know, Bob, you're wrong, okay? But here's the deal. We don't, and if people have listened to us, golly, they think if we're at a restaurant or we're out somewhere, they think we're mad at each other half the time because we're arguing about something. Bob, you're wrong. Bob, no. And we're over there back and forth. People think, but guess what? You won't find any better friends. And 99% of the stuff, after I argue with him and get a stick or something and hit him, he'll come around, you know. But here's the deal, Bob. Why can't the Republicans be that way? Why can't we realize, for me being in rural Oklahoma, I'm not going to agree with everything that Oklahoma City has. We're just not going, and we need to be able to accept that. Bob, the Democrat Party, I'll give you an example. If you go on the floor and you look how all the Democrats are dressed, every one of them will be dressed appropriately. They will look sharp. The women, the men, all look sharp. And you got Maureen Turner that comes in dressed like a bum with stuff wrote that's not. And again, here's the deal: it violates your rules and your policies. Now, if I've got to pay money to dress in a suit and come up there and be in a suit, then she ought to also. She ought to have to dress, and the rules say so. But when she comes in all the time, and nobody will hold her accountable because they're all scared they're going to get the transgender or the LGBT or whoever after them. Bob, I rip her up. I tear her up all the time. I put out publicly. Well, guess what? Even though all the Democrats know I'm telling the truth, all the Democrats know I'm right, and secretly the Democrats might come over and go, JJ, we agree with you. But you know what? As a party, they do.
Stick together.
Oh, they'll try to eat my lunch. They'll come out and just go square at me, after me, for telling the truth that they know is right, and half of them agree with me, but they stick together with her when she's absolutely 1,000% wrong. They will stick together. Now, guess what? You take the Republicans and you let me vote one time that it's not something they want. And hell, they're ready to eat me alive. They're ready to throw me to the bus, under the bus. You know what I'm saying? You can vote with them 900 times correctly. One time, 901 times, you're wrong. And they're ready to eat your lunch and throw you away. Now, that is wrong. And that's where our party is wrong. But again, our party's got to become involved. They can't just sit up here and yeah, argue about some rules, argue about who's who, argue about a survey. And again, I will say, Bob, on Wayne Hill, that survey he ran where he held up Regina, the most liberal puke Democrat there is. And again, I will tell you this: I do have a lot of respect for Regina. On she's got backbone and she'll stand up for herself.
Yep.
So when I say I don't mean a puke as in she's Regina's got some good qualities. Okay, she will fight for what she believes in, and I respect that. But
I think really for her party, for where she's at, she does a fantastic job.
I do. I believe that she does a heck of a job standing up for her beliefs and for all the things of her party. I disagree with her, and when I call her a liberal puke, I don't mean that. I shouldn't call her a puke because I like Regina. But at the end of the day, here's Wayne holding her up to to be a strong Republican when she is the most outrageous Democrat there is. And how can you have a survey when that comes out like that? Anybody with a half a brain, if you had a brain as big as that daggum lead right there, I'll guarantee you ought to stop and go, that don't make no sense. How can Regina be stronger than old J.J. Humphrey when J.J. Humphrey goes all around the state calling out liberals, calling out woke, calling out drag queens, calling out transgender, calling out abortion, calling out the ATF, standing up for gun rights? You won't find anybody more vocal. The Capitol hates me. And yet, here you go. You're going to hold her up to be a stronger Republican than I am.
Well, JJ, I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. And no one can dispute this. When you go around and speak at different various places, none of them put you down for what you're saying. Not one of them. Every one of them's the same way. They're all tired of it. And right. I was shocked. I don't care if you're going to Guthrie or you're going to Podunk. It was the same thing. That people are mad. They're very mad. But I say it still goes back in the state that has to do with the dadgum border. It started the trouble. And that House and the Senate up there, they stand back and make a few speeches, but they're not doing anything.
Bob, I was on the border, and this will say everything. When you see the highway, when you see the Texas Rangers, when you see the Border Patrol, these people who work for the government stand up and work for the federal government, Border Patrol, federal government, when they will stand up to a whole crew of representatives and senators around the United States, get in front of them and go, Joe Biden is a traitor, he's treasonous, but the Republicans ain't much better because they've done absolutely nothing. When those people will stand up there and say, the reason we called this meeting is because if our country's going to be saved, it's going to be the state people. It's going to be our states that save us. And that's what we were doing there. And again, here's the deal, though, Bob. What we've got to do, and that's why I love this grassroots movement, the state is going to have to save the state before we. But
our state of Oklahoma's got to stop the corruption going on up there.
Oh, we are corrupt, whether it be the agencies, whether it be all of these campaign and all of this dark money and how this dark money's and Bob, we got to get candidates who'll stand up against that. And the only way we can fight this big money is for people to quit talking about a convention and get off their butt and get out there and knock doors and get out there and buy a sign. Bob, with all the people in the Republican Party, if each one of them would just buy a sign. I've got a person that I'm rooting for there, two actually in the Moore and Norman area that might have a chance. Guess what? I've already put 600 in one of them. I put 100 in another. I put 100 in another the other night. So in the last, less than a month, I put $1,000. Not a one with some campaign.
But you done more than that. You put time in.
Oh, Bob, I've made videos for them. I've made videos for multiple people. I've went places and talked for them. Yeah, I'm not just putting I'm not just sitting down here saying something. I'm putting effort and time and my own money, not campaign money, some of my own money involved in this.
Because you're right. If these same people up there that that I seen at the convention. They just get out and work with different people across across Oklahoma and help them. That would make a big difference. If you see that in every district going on, that can make a difference. But I'm afraid it's not going to happen.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd like to see the grassroots come out and get behind a candidate or two and really go out and push them to see what they could do and to see if they could raise money and see if they could be effective, because that's what the Republican Party has failed to do. They failed to have any effect in real elections and get their people really who they pick. Again, if the GOP comes out and says, well, we like Langmeyer over Langford, but what did you do for him? If all you did was come out and say that, how many votes did you win? How many people actually heard that? Because how many people are sitting up there, oh, let me see what the GOP says. Oh, I'm going to vote exactly. Not very many. Not very many. You want to be effective, get off your duff, get off the bench and get in the game. Get in the game and get out there, knock doors, buy a sign. If you can't afford to give $100, then buy a sign. If you can buy a $70 sign, great. If you can buy a $5 sign, good. If you can give $10 for a t-shirt, go buy a t-shirt and wear that stinking t-shirt every day and push cards and do whatever. Get out and get that person elected. And I'll promise you, Bob, as a guy who's ran a lot of campaigns, guess what? Now, you get 30, 40 people. Bob, how would you like to have 30 or 40 energized people to help you all the time with your campaign?
Yeah, I did have 5 or 6 that I didn't know that come out and helped me.
Bob, you know who I had?
Who?
Old JJ.
Did you have Carla?
My wife and a couple. I had some good friends that went with me on my first election. On my second election, even my family was hooked up and couldn't come with me. I pretty much run my second election, but I will say my kids and my wife had to step in and help a bunch. But that was pretty it. I mean, it was me and my kids. I can't tell you this, Bob. I got more compliments on the fact I had my kids out there mowing grass around them signs, and I had them putting in. And I didn't know when I was doing this. I didn't do it on purpose. But, man, after I got elected, I'd have people come up and go, you want me to tell you what impressed me about you? I say, what's that? And they go, your kids work. Your kids out there pounding the post in the ground or tying that sign up or mowing. Said most people don't have kids that work as hard as that. And I'm like, wow, I should have got it.
I'll tell you another good thing about campaigning that I seen a guy do here. Robert Keys, his wife goes with him every time, right up to the door.
Yep.
And that
says a lot.
My wife drove me, but she didn't get out and go up to the door.
Right.
But I'm glad, because she would no telling what she would have said. She's worse than me about being dressed.
She probably wouldn't have said it to them. She'd probably said it to you. Bob, straight. Bob, quit talking so much.
She told me I'd gotten the car and she'd give me a mouthful. She did that anyway. But she was my navigator, and she helped me, but she didn't go up the door. But the last time she was real sick, so she couldn't. But I look at some of these guys in their elections, and I see this dark money. We got a sheriff in Cleveland County. This is what really gets me. We got a sheriff in Cleveland County that absolutely doesn't know what a budget is. He doesn't know when you get a budget, that's how much you can spend. He spent more than what his budget is. He keeps going back to the well. This county is not like a private business. They can just go get more money. They only got X amount of money to go, and then abuse the money. Go out and hire all your friends to work for you, and you're having trouble. And it amazes me, because some of these people that's been helping him are the money people of Cleveland County. And they're saying, oh, you guys need to be helping him. You guys need to be helping him. You know what? If he's not smart enough to run a budget, he's not smart enough to be a sheriff.
Well, Bob, what I would say on that, I would put out some campaigns. I know he's come with like they won't fund. I've seen several of these, like your son's trying to defund the police. When here's the deal, what people need to understand is they gave him complete funding. They gave him additional funding. Now, this is what I understand.
Well, you're right. But I tell you what, the budget, they're on a budget committee. So there's all the elected officials are there. Okay, they all vote on the budget. He accepted his budget, didn't complain, didn't say a word. But he didn't go. He didn't matter to him. He went ahead and spent money like he didn't. He didn't even have it. He spent it. It wasn't even. Couldn't even account for it. He was spending it.
Well, Bob, that's what they ought to do, and that's what's so aggravating. Is a lot if you have the money to come out with these cards that are totally false.
Well, they got some new mailers on my son that are absolute lies, and we're going to find them eventually, and we'll sue them. But why are they sending something on him? He's one person up there. He's not the budget board. He's on the budget board.
Bob, I would come out right now with cards showing, because again, I'd call him on it and say, you know what? They got a new thing called a calculator. A calculator. It's really great. You can actually add up and get the correct answer. Here's the deal. It ain't defund. It's additional funds. That's what he wants. We're not defunding. We're having to additionally fund because they can't keep a budget. That's the stuff that needs to come out. That's what you need to say.
Well, I supported the guy. I voted for him. I supported him. And then when I seen, and he even put a sign up in my business, I called him and said, hey, you can put a sign up in my yard. Put a sign up, big sign up. And he goes out and then he gets with these guys. And they post this dark money and bad mouth my son. I told him that's enough. You bad mouth my son. I'm not going to have it. Get your sign out of my yard. Well, I didn't do it. I know how politics works. I know he had to know something about that.
Right.
They're not going to go out and do it if they're not don't know.
Well,
maybe they don't tell you what they're actually going to do, but they're going to do something.
Bob, if somebody come out with dark money or one of these packs and said something that I know is not true and said it for me, trying to help me, but it was untrue, I would come out and say, I would publicly say, nope, this is untrue. I messed up on the budget. And you know what? I think people will kind of give you some slack if he would just come.
Well, so I think the budget board would be a little more lenient. But when you say that you're not going to do anything different, you're not going to let anybody go so you can make payroll. He can't even make payroll. He encumbered. You're supposed to be, when you encumber the money for something, you're supposed to have it encumbered and have it set aside. He
Bob,
didn't do that.
I don't know why politicians can't say I was wrong. I mean, everybody's wrong occasionally. I have no problem when I get, unless I'm talking to you, I rarely am wrong when it comes to stuff me and you talk about. But here's the deal. I mean, whether it's that or whether it's Wayne coming out with a survey that makes Regina the top Republican, instead of coming out and owning it and go, this was terrible. Now let me tell you why, Wayne, if you ever hear this, I hope, I don't know you, but I told you beforehand, you got to make sure you get that survey right. And I told you that for the very reason we're sitting here discussing. So I know other people told you that, Wayne. So you went ahead and bulldogged and made your mind up that you're just going to, do whatever you want to do, and you're not going to listen to everybody. But let me tell you why you do more harm to the Republican Party when you do that. And that is because you take a person like Stark. So Marilyn Stark is running in a very, blue district, purple district, whatever you want to call them. And she's razor edge. Eric Roberts, same thing, razor edge. Max Wolfley, razor edge. And when you come down and you say to Republicans, these are terrible folks, when really they're some of the most conservative people up there, and they're in terribly hard districts, and you come out and go after them, guess what? What are you going to replace them with, Wayne? What are you going to call? You're going to have 3 Democrats up there instead of 3 good conservative Republicans. And if you go check any 3 of those that I'm talking about, Denise Crosswhite Hater, these kind of people, if you go check their record, I will promise you they're some of the stoutest Republicans, stoutest people up there. And what do, Wayne? You go cut their throat and make it 10 times harder for them to run an election. You don't just not help them, you cut their throat. And guess what? We got other people that our own party are going after the conservative the ones that stand up and are accounted for, and our own party is going out and recruiting people against them. And are you doing anything to help him? And Wayne, I will tell you this, other than that survey, I don't know one damn thing you've done to help anybody. Maybe you have, but I've sure not heard it. And so again, all you do is harm, and you do nothing to help. And all you do is create friction. And what do you do to unite? Nothing. And so again, that's what I'm telling people. Let's get united. These establishments that's tried to run our party, hey, how about opening your ears and hearing the party? How about getting on board with the party, not you run the party? But Wayne, how about you getting on board with the party and not do stupid ignorant crap like you did that harms the party? How about we all get on the same page? Bob, what's this rule change that they're talking about? They're talking about changing the rule. What is that? Do you know?
Well, the only rule I can think of that got changed was the one that changed where the state representative elected officials are not automatically on the not called. I'm sorry.
Is it a proxy where they can't just see?
Well, they can't proxies, but it doesn't matter because they take them out of the equation. They're no longer automatically a member. They're just a member like everybody else. They don't.
Well, good. That's the way it ought to be. And again, if I'm going to vote, I got no problem. I ought to be there.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I've been active in this thing now, I know, a good 30, 40 years. Very seldom do you see an elected official there. They ought to be the front ones there on the front row. Very seldom you'll see a handful of them. They don't show up. But if there's an election, they'll go out and get proxies from a bunch of people, and then they'll show up with a bunch of proxies. Now they have done that, but that's not what you need to do.
I can sure understand why all you Oklahoma City people think that when the rest of us are down here 2.5, 3 hours away. Now,
well, you know what? You get your car, you drive down there. You get your car, you drive down there.
Why don't y'all have a convention at Hugo or Durant or something?
Because neither one of those places have enough people that can set 1,000 people.
Oh yeah, we got a casino down here set more than 1,000 people. Come on.
Well, why don't you offer it then?
Well, I will.
I don't believe we're going to have I don't think we're going to have a convention at a casino. You might as well put us into a marijuana plant.
Bob, what do you got against casino?
I don't have anything against the casino, but other people do.
You're a tribal member, Bob. Y'all eat.
Hey, I love the casinos. I love the work that they do for the casino. But other people, I'm talking about, you got to look at everybody. You can't look at what I do or what you do.
Well, Bob, Oklahoma City is actually more central to somebody like Casey Murdoch, who has to drive 6.5 hours. So I really don't. I'm just giving I'm giving all you city folks a hard time who don't realize what it does take for somebody like myself to drive 2.5. I drive multiple times to Oklahoma City.
Well, you go home and come back in one day.
I know it. I did. Time. I did the other day 2 times. I went, but I had events down here I needed to be at that were important to me. I want people from my district to know I support them.
But you know what? It would be nice if the state party organized, you don't have to be a state convention, but a miniature convention in these out in the areas.
Yeah, they just have a meeting. It wouldn't even have to be a convention. Have some meetings around the state so that's a
good idea. They probably should do that.
I think they should. I think it'd be a big deal.
But the rural areas, let's face it, this is what I think. You can disagree if you want to, but the rural area has the votes. It's not Oklahoma City. It's not Tulsa. It's the rural.
Well, it's a big vote, especially Republican vote. If you're looking at Republican vote, rural is more solid. And Bob, like what we're talking about, a 2-day convention, that was another heated thing again, So you take somebody like me that has to drive up there. I'm going to have to get a room if I'm going to stay 2 days, a 2-day convention. And again, charging as much as what we had to charge would help also. I mean, you got people out here in rural Oklahoma. We act like everybody's made of money. And again, I can tell you these fundraisers, I think one of the reasons the Republicans don't get more fundraisers from common folk is because they don't have $100. It's And if you pay $100, it's almost. Did you ever think you'd have a day where when you're paying $100, you almost have to feel ashamed because you're a cheapskate? Now, I know, Bob, that probably don't bother you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You might live cheap, and it don't really tell you the truth. It don't bother me neither. I pay whatever I want. But do you know, Bob, honestly, there are people who can't afford to be a part of this process when we make it 2 days, when we make it 100, and more dollars. We need to be aware that the people, we got to keep it to where the common person can take part. Yeah. And again, fundraisers, conventions, all of it need to be where the majority of folks can afford it and not feel ashamed if they can't afford it to come and participate. And I think
we got to stop the dark money, though. The dark money coming in there, that's got to stop. We got to figure it out some way or another. But it looks like up there at the Capitol in D.C., they don't want to stop it because they're getting a lot of dark money.
The policies. And again, that's what I think a bunch of these elite. And Bob, I want to stay straight out. Hey, I've known Pam for a little bit. I don't know her probably as well as you. I've never had a problem with Pam personally. I've not had a problem with her, but I think that she turned a deaf ear to the majority. And again, Bob, this has been happening. I've been yelling and screaming about stuff. They've been calling me radical. And that's why when I see this grassroots movement, I don't know where it come from. I don't know who's the head of it, but I can tell you this. I very much relate to their movement. I very much relate to all the people, and I hear them saying the same things I've been screaming. And when I get asked to talk, man, they're loving the things that I'm saying because it's going right along with what their agenda is. But again, we got to get them. It's not just taking back the convention. It's not just party. If the party is yours and you do nothing with it, it's just being party. So we can say, oh, well, this is what we stand for. But you don't go out and stand. What good are you? If you don't get off the bench and get in the game, what good is it to be on this thing? And Bob, I know people that we were talking about coming on here, just like being on this program. And I get put on this program. I get on other programs that are broadcasted from here. That's getting in the game. That's being involved in getting the message out there. Whether you're walking door to door, whether you're making videos, whether you're funding, whether you're putting on T-shirts, buying signs.
Well,
all the skills you have.
People don't realize that, this messes up your Sunday. Can't, got to stay here at 3:00, and it's the same way we did when we do our other one on Fridays. It takes time and effort to do this. But, you talk about corruption and you look at the Department of Corrections. I was speaking to a lady today at church and sits right in front of me. And she used to be deputy director of DOC whenever Jones was there. And I was telling her about some of the things going on. She said, "Oh, they're going back. It's going backwards, not forwards." And that's what I see happening since I've been involved in that. And when you get a guy who gets $90,000 more for that job than anybody else gets, who has no experience,
most unqualified person ever took the job, Bob. He's the most
unqualified as they get, doing things that's caused people to die.
But Bob, it's not just the Department of Corrections. It's every agency up there has turned rogue. They don't answer to nobody.
What's that DHS deal? When I went to that little thing they had down there at the Capitol the other day, and I heard some stories that was wow. I mean, they were half true. It was awful.
Bob, I'm gonna send a deal this week to a judge and to the director of DHS and say, if you don't supply me with some court records saying why you took this kid, because if you go to the court, guess what? It says there's no record of it. And again, if DHS took a kid, by the way, got him on tape saying, if you don't leave your kid in this mental ward, of which they had no reason to put him in there, if you don't leave that kid in there, we're going to take your second kid. That's called extortion. Got him on tape extorting the lady. Now they have no court order removing that kid and putting him in a mental ward. Oh, by the way, they kept him 14 days. Guess how many days Sooner Care will pay for, Bob?
How many?
14. So they kept him just the amount of days they get paid for, and then they kicked him out. Oh, you're cured now. Go home because we got all the money we can from you. So we take him out of the home. We took her guns out of the home, the mother's guns. They
Well, don't we have a new director of DHS?
Yes. And Bob, I've been to them quietly, just like I went to DOC. And Bob, and you know this. This is the way I do. Everybody accuses me, oh, he just comes after them. No, I don't. I go over and meet with them. I go over and say, hey, I'm going to give you this case. Let's get it worked. I'm going to give you this case. And I don't hand them some this piece of paper. I hand them documents showing, here, let's fix this. Here, let's fix this. Here, let's fix this. Oh, that's an old case. That's an old case. That's an old case. Really, child molestation's old? How does child molestation get old? How do you put somebody in there knowing they're being molested and you call that an old case? We're not going to get involved. Well, boy, that's pretty sorry. How do you know when you know that this kid has been kidnapped and you have done wrong? What are you going to do to make it right? When you know this family was accused of murder and now it's coming
did they answer your questions? I want to know this.
No.
When I haven't asked you this, but do they respond back to you when you ask a question?
Oh, they'll respond. Oh, that's an old case, and wow, okay. So
do they respond truthfully?
Well, no, because what they're doing is just saying nothing to see here. Let's go, move on. We don't want to deal with it. And Bob, when you got hundreds of cases, when you got that many people will show up, case after case after case. And again, the governor, and I had a good conversation last Monday with the governor on this, and he told me, hey, and I told him I'll bring him some stuff. But the bottom line is you put together a task force. Who do you go pick for your task force? The very people who created the problem and who are people.
Well, why is they asking you to bring it in? Well, what do they ask us? Well, what do you want to do about it? What's this? What do you want to do? You know what? I'm not elected up there. And like DOC, well, you never offer any solutions. We offer plenty of solutions. You just don't listen.
Bob, here's the deal. Same thing I talked about a while ago. They say, well, you never offer any bill solution. Yeah, I do, because you steal half of them and then you kill. What you don't steal, you kill. You know what I'm saying? And so you want me to turn around and kill
What happened to our whistleblower bill?
Yeah, they killed it over in the Senate. Wouldn't let it on the floor. And again, here's the deal. Is that look at what's going on in this nation. And if we wouldn't have had the whistleblowers, look at what happened to those whistleblowers. Do you think the people of Oklahoma want to see a good whistleblower bill? Heck yeah, I can tell you right now they do. And what did these pukes do? Our own pukes up there killed it. They're pukes, and they did it. But what are you going to do to beat them? What are you going to do? One of them's right there in Ada. That probably the main reason why that one didn't get heard. He's going to be your next pro tem in the Senate if y'all don't get off your butt and go out there and get the guy beat. And there's all kinds of ammunition. You ought to be on Facebook every day. Lighten him up. Lighten him up. Lighten him up. 100 people on Facebook lighting him up every day talking about, hey, he killed this bill. You don't have to lie. Go get the stuff he wouldn't let on. Go get the stuff he killed. Go look how he's done his own team. Guess what? That's all you need to do right there. Light it up, light it up, light it up. That'd get him beat. Go down there and beat doors. You couldn't beat one person that would have more impact than that one right there. And again, if you want to come over to the house and see what's happening, same thing happening in the house. And you can light it up every day. And if you started lighting everything up every day, and I'm going to start doing videos, and I'm already working with paying for, and I've already set several meetings. Bob, you was in one of those meetings where I'm trying to get that done. Ain't happening as fast as what I want, but I'm going to start calling them out. And guess what? I'm doing that at a risk to my own political career, to getting anything done up there. I'm doing it at a risk to me, at a cost to me. But guess what? I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do for the state of Oklahoma to call this stuff out. Now, if you get about 50 or 60 other people that do the same, guess what? Now, get some skin in the game. get some real, let them come after you. Let's get linked up. Let's get united. You want to do something, get with me. Hell, we'll go fight them. We'll go after them, and we'll have impact. But you sit up here and you sit on your butt and you go to a conference and you argue and you fight each other and you don't get united and you don't go after, guess what? Y'all's enemies on your own party instead of looking at, let's go after the real enemies of the party. And again, we do need to clean some house. I have no problem cleaning house. I have no problem getting people on the same page. But let's get that done. That ought to be the easy stuff. And if doing all that takes all your time, but you don't go out here and get on the real front line, guess what? We're gonna get all the same. And the very people y'all are talking about being rhinos. Guess what? I hear all that rhino. Only deal is if I make one bad vote, I'm a rhino. So y'all don't even know what a rhino is because you can't classify it. But here's the thing. Let's go beat the rhinos. Let's go run them out the zoo. Let's go put some new people in the zoo. But we ain't going to do it because guess what? When you turn around, there ain't a whole lot of people on the front line with you. There ain't a whole lot of Dons out there. Do you know that, Bobby? Yeah. There ain't a whole lot of Bobby Clevelands out there either that are out
lucky
there.
About that.
Well, Bob, hey, you can say what you want, but man, there ain't nobody fought for DOC and fought for what we're talking about any harder than you. I personally know it. And again, they come after me, and I don't have to look around and see where you are. You're always right there.
Well, I have to tell you this. I'll tell you this. I want to remind you of it. On my first year I was there, I had the third most highest bills signed by the governor. The two people who beat me, they were long-termers, 12 years. This was my first year. I didn't even know what I was doing.
Then they got to know you, Bob. Is that what you're saying? And
then they got to know me, and I went kind of down. I slid down.
Well, Bob, you know what? I mean, my first year up there, I found this: that the people who didn't like you didn't like me.
Yeah.
And the people I was fighting with and having problems with were the same people you were having problems with. And that's before we ever, in fact, we got to know each other and we'd be talking about somebody and you'd be like, I had the same problem with that guy. Or I'd say, I had the same problem with that guy. Yeah. And after we've gotten to know each other, it's almost 100% the people you were having problem with is the people I'm having problem with.
Well, then you wouldn't vote for my bill. That really hurt me.
Well, you know, Bob, you did have a few bad bills. And
that was a good bill. When you look back on that, that was a good bill.
Bob, I voted no on that bill multiple times. Killed that bill. In fact, me and a couple other guys killed that bill by ourselves. They come real strong with it on doing that. But here's the deal, Bob. What's funny is, you want me to tell you what they don't like about you and what they don't like about me is we will call it out no matter who it is. And we may like the people. You know what I'm saying? There's some people up there I don't agree with, and I don't agree with how they let the money control them and the corporate control them. But I like them. They're decent and good enough people. They ain't terrible people. And you know what I'm saying? But do I support what they're doing? Do they support what I'm doing? Does it make them mad that I'll call them out? It does make them really, really mad. And the deal is you call them out and you stand. And they can't go after you because guess what? They don't have nothing to go after you on. Now, DOC guy, now Harp, he's going after you a little bit. But again, what's he going after you on? He's got so much dirt on him, it's terrible. Guess what? He's trying to close our associations, not just your association, Bob, the one you're with, but all associations.
Well, he's been working hard to take over OCP and shut it down. Oh, he's got some help inside.
Hey, Bob, do you know what time it is? My clock quit working here.
4 o'clock.
Is it 4? I knew we'd have to be getting close. Bob, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about, but you want to give me your thoughts on what you would say to the Republican Party as we get ready to close.
Well, after I seen the convention, it is clear as crystal clear that they need to start listening to the people. They're not. And we're going to maybe lose it to the Democrats, or we're going to lose some people. But if Langford, if they don't change their actions up there at DC, they're going to be out. because this thing's not going to stop. This thing's going to explode and go across the state.
Well, I hope it does, Bob, because I'm going to tell you something. I'm not, and I'll say it publicly and I'll say it openly. I will. Langford has made too many mistakes. He needs to go. If he had any decency, he'd resign because what he's done to our country, what he's done on the border, what he did on J6, what he's done with some judge elections, it's beyond disgraceful. You have disgraced yourself and you need to go. Some of these other guys that obviously have put D.C. in front of the people of Oklahoma and the people of the United States, they need to go. And I hope this movement catches fire. I hope it burns. I mean, I hope it gets like a big old just heated grass fire and moves. I hope the wind gets behind it, and I'm all for it. But I do say that we need to get our own house in order, and we need to get unity in our house. We need to get everything, and then we need to get out and actually get involved. The way this thing will take off is by actually getting the people elected that's going to do the will of the people. And so I want to encourage you. Thank goodness for all the people who go and fight. I want to tell you, all of you, how much, no matter where you're at on this issue, at least you're up there. At least you're fighting for what you believe and you're being involved. But I want to take that involvement to the street and actually get people elected. So, Bob,
well, thank you, JJ. I appreciate you, and I've got to go because I've got to get to a church program.
I got to go pick up a bull, Bob.
Well, you just pick up that bull because you're full of bulls, so you'll.